I am 62. He is 24. Last night, when the rain was lashing against the windows with such fury, it felt like it wanted to wash the entire city away. He pressed himself against me, his body hot, trembling, buried his face in my neck, and whispered in a hoarse, almost broken voice, "I never asked you for anything, and yet I received everything." And in that moment, something inside me exploded, sweet, painful, unbearably bright, as if all those years I had been locked inside an icy cage, and he simply shattered it with a single touch, without effort, without words, simply because he could no longer breathe without me. My name is Laura. 15 years of absolute silence after the divorce. My children had long since moved away, one to the West Coast, the other to London. They call once a month, ask, "How are you, Mom?" And I smile into the phone and say, "I'm fine." Men. There were attempts, 2 or 3 times over the years. Each one ended the same way. "You're an amazing woman, but..." And then the emptiness settled in my chest like wet snow. I got used to it. Morning, coffee without sugar. Day, numbers in a small law firm. Evening, an old book, an old movie, a glass of red wine, and the quiet realization that youth was gone, beauty had faded, and with them everything that once made the blood run faster. I stopped looking in the mirror in the mornings. I just washed my face and left. My body became nothing more than a shell. Femininity, a word from the past, spoken now only with a sad smile. And then he appeared, Ethan. He came because of an ad. Urgent repair needed, router dead, desperate woman versus technology. He arrived in 20 minutes, soaked through, wearing a black hoodie that smelled of rain, asphalt, and something incredibly alive. Young and warm, tall, thin, with sharp cheekbones and eyes that looked too long, too deeply, as if they saw not just the surface, but everything hidden beneath it. I poured him tea. He refused. But when I placed a plate of warm apple pie with vanilla ice cream in front of him, he ate 7 in a row, slowly, closing his eyes with pleasure, as if savoring not the food, but the simple fact that someone cared. "You have magical hands," he said suddenly, looking straight into my eyes. I laughed nervously. "It's just a pie." "No, it's you, all of you. You're real. There's warmth coming from you I've never felt before. Never." He started coming back again and again. He fixed the router on the very first evening, but I invented reasons. It's blinking again. The signal drops. The speed is slow. He never left. He just came, sat at the table, and I placed in front of him everything I knew how to cook best. Blueberry muffins, homemade lasagna, chocolate chip cookies, and savory pot roast. He ate and looked at me as if I were the most beautiful sight he had ever seen. One evening, the rain poured down like a river. The power went out. We were left in half darkness, only the faint glow of the street lamp sliding across the walls and ceiling. He came up behind me, wrapped his arms around me, slowly, carefully, as if he were afraid I might shatter from a single movement. His hands rested on my shoulders, then slid down my arms, then wrapped around my waist. I felt the heat of his chest against my back, his breathing hot, uneven, right next to my ear. "Do you understand what you're doing?" I whispered without turning around. "I do, and I don't care anymore what anyone else in the world thinks." That night, we didn't fall on each other like in cheap movies. We simply lay down. He held me from behind, tightly, with his whole body. His hand rested on my stomach, the place I had always hidden, the place I hated, every fold of it. He didn't pull away. Instead, he pressed his palm there more firmly, as if saying, "This is exactly what I love." His fingers moved slowly over my skin, from my ribs to my hips and back again. His breathing quickened. So did mine. I lay there trembling, not from the cold, but from being touched without disgust, without hurry, without the need to finish quickly. He was simply present, whispering into my hair, "Your skin is so warm, so alive. I lose myself just from your scent, from the way you breathe, from the way you tremble under my hands." I began to cry, quietly, uncontrollably. He didn't ask why. He simply turned me to face him, held me against his chest, and kissed my wet cheeks until I calmed down. In the morning, he left a note on the kitchen table. "Thank you for letting me breathe. I'll come back tonight. If you don't send me away, I'll die happy." I walked around the apartment in a haze, touched my neck where his lips had been, breathed in the scent of the pillow, smiled at my reflection, for the first time without sadness, without disgust. And then the real emotional storm began. First, the looks. The neighbor downstairs. "Is that your son visiting?" The cashier at the store, a long stare, then a mocking smile. His friends at the cafe. One said it straight to his face. "Find yourself a normal girl already. What are you doing, man?" Then there was the girl in the park, 25, slim, confident, perfect skin. She walked up to us, looked at me from head to toe, and said to him, "Are you serious? She could be your mother. Aren't you embarrassed to be seen with her?" He didn't even blink. He gently but firmly lifted my chin, turned me toward him, and kissed me, deeply, slowly. So completely the world disappeared beneath my feet. When he pulled away, he looked at her coldly and calmly. I would be embarrassed if I chose someone who didn't know how to love the way she does. But she does, and that's stronger than all your youth, all your beauty, and all your filters and followers combined. I was burning, shaking. I wanted to disappear into the ground, and at the same time scream with joy, with pride, with triumph. And then came the night when everything changed forever. Rain. Again. He burst into the apartment, soaked to the skin, threw his jacket on the floor, and dropped to his knees right in front of me, on the wet linoleum. He wrapped his arms around my hips, pressed his face against my stomach. He was trembling like he had a fever. "I never asked you for anything, Laura. Nothing. And yet you gave me everything. Yourself, your warmth, your strength, your womanhood. I can't breathe without you. I lose my mind when I think about losing this, losing you." I ran my fingers through his wet hair, holding his head closer to me. "What if I get even older?" I whispered. "What if I become completely unattractive, weak, a burden?" He lifted his face. His eyes were shining, with tears and something else, something wild, something hungry. "You're already older, and I'm already yours. I love that you know what you want, that you don't play games, that your body remembers everything. And when you tremble under my hands, when your breathing breaks, when you surrender to the moment, I feel every part of me come alive. This isn't just closeness. This is resurrection for both of us." He stood up, took my face in his hands, hot, strong, slightly trembling. He kissed my eyelids, my cheeks, my lips, slowly, deeply, endlessly gently. His hands slid down my back, wrapped around my hips, pulled me against him so tightly I could feel every beat of his heart, fast, wild, uncontrollable. Then he lifted me into his arms, effortlessly, as if I weighed nothing, and carried me into the bedroom. He laid me on the bed, lay beside me. His hand rested over my heart, not demanding but protecting, grateful for every breath. His breathing was hot and uneven near my neck, our fingers intertwined. He whispered, almost breaking, "You are the most beautiful woman I've ever known, because you're real, because you let me be weak and strong at the same time, because when you give yourself, it's not a performance, it's truth, and I drown in it. I die and come back to life every time you say my name." I cried. from happiness, from fear, from the shock of feeling desired, completely, without conditions, without hesitation, without limits. And then another sharp moment, a week later. We went to a cafe together. He insisted. At the table nearby sat girls his age, beautiful, confident, effortless. One of them, blonde, perfect figure, waited until I went to the restroom, then slid into the seat next to him. When I returned, I saw her hand resting on his shoulder, her lips close to his ear, laughing softly. He immediately pulled her hand away. "Don't touch me," he said coldly. "I belong to someone else." She laughed, sharp, mocking. "To that old woman? You're joking. She's... Come on, you know." He stood up, walked over to me, took my hand, spoke loudly enough for everyone to hear. "No, to the woman who made me a man, the woman who makes my heart beat in a way it never did before, the woman whose love is deeper than anything you've ever known." And then he kissed me, right there, in the middle of the cafe, slowly, deeply, without shame. I was shaking. Tears ran down my face. And inside, pure wild triumph. Another moment, just yesterday evening. He came later than usual, walked in silently, closed the door, came to me, dropped to his knees and pressed his forehead against my stomach. He stayed there for a long time, silent, then looked up. Today at work, one of the guys asked me, "Are you really with a woman who could be your mother?" I said, "Yes, and I've never been happier." He laughed, called me crazy, but I realized something. I'm not crazy. I'm alive, for the first time in my life. He stood up and held me so tightly I could feel his heart beating against mine, fast, powerful, unstoppable. I never asked for anything, and yet I received everything, more than I ever dared to dream. This morning he lay beside me, his face buried in my neck, whispering the same words over and over like a prayer. I never asked for anything, and yet I received everything. I don't know how long this will last. Maybe a month, maybe years. Maybe one day he'll leave, for someone his age, for a different life, a safer life. Or maybe he'll stay, because he found what he had been searching for his entire life. But today I woke up, and for the first time in so many years, I felt like a woman again, alive, desired, passionate, loved, victorious. And you, would you open your door to someone like him? Would you believe him when he looks at you and sees not age but beauty? Would you believe his hands when they trembled just from touching you? Would you believe that someone could fall to their knees and thank you simply for existing? Write in the comments. Honestly, I need to know, am I alone, or have you felt it too? That warmth, that trembling, that life. And tonight, he promised to come back, and I feel it. This time, he might bring something more. Maybe a ring, maybe a key, maybe just words powerful enough to change everything. So, wait for what happens next. If there is a next, I'm holding you all close, tighter than you know. You are alive, you are desired, always.